It's kind of what happens. Well, look, should we have an experiment here? Let's just see. Let's have a vote. Are there people here who would say, better dead than in a coalition with the Lib Dems? Are there people here who would say never? Absolutely not.
Nick Clegg would have to go first.
Well, Nick Clegg would say that Gordon Brown would have to go first, and I think that might be the quid pro quo in all those situations, particularly if you had a government that had somebody just been voted out. So nobody. Right, we are not you.
No.
Oh, you say no. Do you want to talk to no? No? You want to speak about it? Tell us why no. You would rather go into opposition than go into coalition.
Well, it makes us look weak if we go into coalition, and we shouldn't have to rely on other parties to prop us up. Because it's giving away one policy, so we're having to implement someone else's. It's, for me,
if you won the election, you don't have to.
But once the people have spoken, and they've said not you, but possibly you and you'd still say, no, into the wilderness, I'm not having anything to do with it.
It's better to be in opposition right now. After 13 years of Labour government, people may disagree with me and so be it. But all I'm going to say is, it's better after 13 years of Labour government, which has happened, that we go back into opposition, we refresh ourselves, we start re-listening to the people again.
Right.
Because we did forget to do that, and Labour has moved away from where the working people used to be.
Is anybody else a no?
I'm a yes.
You're a yes. Anybody else a no?
This will be very difficult.
Very difficult.
I live in Sheffield Hallam.
All right, let's hear from you.
Sorry, is it on?
Yeah.
My MP is Nick Clegg.
Hold it right up.
I speak to a lot of people that voted Lib Dem on a regular basis in Sheffield Hallam and Sheffield who feel a real sense of betrayal. No, I'm sorry, they do. I was speaking to somebody the other day who said they will never, ever, ever vote Lib Dem again. Because, unlike you said, and quite rightly, there have been coalitions abroad on a regular basis, but quite often it's a centre-right coalition or a centre-left coalition. You went to the electorate on a left-of-centre agenda and then flipped straight away to a centre-right agenda. And people feel betrayed, especially in my city, really feel betrayed. I think your party would have to change an hell of a lot and do a lot of things before I personally could sit down with you again and discuss rational things. And I find it rather difficult. You're going to spend 5 years doing one thing, and then you want to spend another 5 years, maybe with the Labour Party, undoing everything you've done in the previous 5 years. Do you know, that's not coalition politics. And I'll be honest, what do we want as a country? Do we want a coalition with the Lib Dems permanently in power?
All right, can I ask you a question? Do you think that in the last 13 years, if Labour had been in coalition with the Lib Dems, Labour would have been much better? No Iraq war, no ID cards, no all sorts of things. Would it have been a better government?
I think it would have been a better government if the Labour Party listened to our leadership more generally on some of those issues, and maybe not just gone ahead with some of those things, and maybe should have said no Tony Blair. I don't think we needed the Lib Dems for that. It was a failing within our own party. I would find it very difficult as well to sell it to our electors. We've already in Sheffield, we've had forged masters, we've had the cancellation of the city centre regeneration, we've had £6 million worth of cuts already. I've been told today 8,500 Sheffield City Council workers will be losing their job because of a Lib Dem councillor and a Lib Dem coalition government. How do I then sell that to our voters, saying, oh, we're going to get into bed with these Liberals and we're going to be happy friends again? I think that would be very, very difficult. So I think, and I've been serious, one of the consequences might be that you would have to get rid of some of your leaders. Nick Clegg, who's reveling in this at the moment.
Right, thank you very much. I'll come to you in the front.
I'm in favour of people actually getting together and negotiating, trying to be negotiable for once. I always hear these politicians and they're always slagging each other off and that. And basically, I've rolled my eyes so many times I feel like I'm going to go dizzy. And it's just nice for a change to actually see some people actually acting like grown-ups, getting together, trying to find something out. And then also another thing as well. Let's say there's like a national, international emergency and nobody's figured out, who on earth's doing what. And, basically when someone says, okay, who's in charge? And it's like, you know, so in that situation, I'm actually pretty glad that actually some people got together, forged out a deal, and is now run with this, you know, the agenda going into 2015. So all I can say is, you know, thank you for negotiating. Please run the country and have a nice day.
Are you a Labour person?
No, I'm a Liberal Democrat. Before anyone says anything, I'm unbiased and I'm friends with most people in those parties. I get that a lot, you know, it's like, you know, I remember on being on the train and, you know, some woman dragged a kid away saying, you know, stay away from that hoodie, he's armed with a knife. And it's like, you know, so I think we really need to get away from that, to be quite honest with you, where you take a group of people and say, you know, oh, well, you know, and stereotype them into this fashion. I think that needs to stop, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, let's take you in the front.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, sort of, Polly, we were at the meeting this afternoon, lunchtime, when Peter Kellner was actually predicting, with his YouGov hat on, was predicting that the Lib Dems would still get something like 60 seats in the next election, and there wouldn't be meltdown for them. And it'd be interesting if there were AV as to how those figures would be adjusted. There is a lot of tribalism in the Labour Party. I'm from Bury South, and there was a big fuss when the Conservatives took over the local government in Bury, and David Cameron came and clapped the Tory leader on the back, and they were celebrating. But they lost overall power, and now they're being, on the face of it, being propped up. Not openly by the Lib Dems, but sort of tacitly by the Lib Dems. And there's a lot of antagonism between Labour and the Lib Dems in Bury. So you were talking about the south of the country, you were talking about Sheffield. I can talk about the northwest. But having said all that, I do think that you look at the model in Europe, and not so much the multiplicity of parties in some countries, but the German model of how they have managed coalition politics for most of the life of the Republic, and there's been a series of different alliances. I mean, somebody at lunchtime spoke of a potential for a pact between Labour and Conservative, but of course we've had that in Rochdale and Oldham, as has been pointed out. So even that, in a mature democracy, without tribalism, is possible. But we've got to ask ourselves whether the British public are quite as mature as the Germans, and we've got to ask ourselves whether the British politicians, perhaps even more importantly, can accept such a situation. And knowing a lot of people in the Labour Party, I have my doubts. I mean, Chris Hume had a rough time at lunchtime.
Oh, I thought not too much.
Well, I think people have been very gentle with John and Evan today compared to Chris. He didn't get much of an applause. I mean, you guys got some applause, but mind you, there might be Lib Dem plans.
Then on the other hand, you know, Chris Hume is much more in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Here's someone who voted against, and here's someone who's not followed. Now, let's come back to the platform for a minute.